Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. Today we've got a real special treat for you today. We have got Trevor Cornbill from Tech Insure. We're going to be talking about cyber insurance. And Trevor has been in the industry for 30 years, but is particularly specialising in cyber for the last 10 years. So today we are going to be helping you really understand and unravel this whole thing about cyber insurance for MSPs and what do you need. Welcome to the show, Trevor.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thanks very much for your time in only preparing, but also recording today. So this is quite a funny story, actually. You know, why Trevor and I are talking. I saw Trevor on a panel discussion at a CompTIA event. If you don't know what CompTIA is, go and check it out and go and join, because they are an amazing trade body for MSPs and amazing community to help MSPs, business owners, vendors, VARs, all sorts of different channel businesses. And Trevor was sitting up there on a panel discussion. And as usual, as I'm there promoting and supporting these events, I took a photograph and away we go. And I'm listening to him talking with another couple of people about stuff. And I sort of thought, that's interesting, cyber insurance. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, we were on a Q&A with some of the Growth Hub clients. And one of them was voicing, what insurance have you got? And this conversation started and it went off and he sort of said, well, look, it's quite clear we don't really know what we need and what cover we need and how we're protected. And wouldn't it be really sad that we're creating this amazing environment of MSPs in the Growth Hub? And if one of us disappeared because we had to liquidate or we had to get shut down because of a cyber thing, and it was quite sad. So I said, I know someone who's in insurance. I'll reach out to him. So I thought, I've got Trevor. Or I didn't know your name at the time, Trevor, in fairness. So I went into my photos and I could see you on the stage in the panel discussion, and I could see your name was Trevor. And then I can't remember who it was moderating it. He was standing in the way of your surname and your company. So I literally went onto LinkedIn. Here's a little bit of a LinkedIn lesson for you, and typed in Trevor, MSP Insurance, and you popped up, mate. So make sure. And then I reached out to Trevor and said, Trevor, I need to talk to you. We need to get you on the show and talk about this. So a bit of a rambled start there, but make sure when you're at events, make sure you get the whole picture, just in case you might want to contact these people. And failing that, make sure your LinkedIn's up to date so people can contact you. So anyway, there's a load of waffle to pad out the first part of the show. Not that we're going to need it because we've got tons of stuff for you today. Trevor, just explain to the listeners why you're here, who you are, what you do, who you help, and you know what is it we're talking about today?
Yeah, so I'm Trevor Cornbill. I work for Tech Insure, which is a brand of clear insurance management. I've been in the insurance industry for 30 years, specialised in the technology industry since 2013, when we launched the Tech Insure brand. What I like to do is to educate business owners and business people within the technology industry space. So, and because of my involvement with technology companies, of course, my role's evolved into some of those evolving areas, and cyber is one of those areas. So we now get involved in that. We get involved in things like intellectual property insurance. We get involved in all different areas. But this is really something I specialise in it and I really enjoy. And like you said about CompTIA, I've been a member for 6 years. So
Lovely.
I've been around managed service providers since I joined, and I love the community. It's great.
Brilliant, isn't it? So just go into the little bit of the detail about your kind of role. What, you know, we're going to get into what is cyber insurance, but how do your clients work with you? How do you provide them the service? A little bit of a, I suppose, bit of a shameless plug, I suppose, but I just want to understand the workings of how this works in a tech industry, a tech business.
Well, I think, to be honest, most technology companies have got the nous to go online, get their own insurance from an Hiscox Direct or another online provider. And I kind of got into it because I uncovered a number of technology companies that had done that. And they'd answered the question set that was presented to them online as a technology company, with no advice, no understanding of what that question might mean, or what they would learn from, what would be expected from them. And inadvertently, in some cases, some of them had answered it incorrectly and were paying money for something that was never, ever going to protect them. So from there, developed this market of ringing up and speaking to potential clients who, it's an education piece. It's review what they've got in place, understand what they do as a business, look at what risks they want to cover and what they don't want to cover, or what they think they need cover for and what they think they don't need cover for, and have that open conversation. Take some details. If they then want to move it forward, we would go to those numerous insurers who offer a combined policy to cover their needs and get the best from market. Now, the idea being that, it's not all about the premium, it's about the cover and what you get. So it's value for money is what we're targeting. But all of that, up to that point that you're presented with a option of quotes or a quote, we would do that free of charge. So we're reviewing all of that, offering that education, that learning, that understanding, and you get it all for nothing. At the point you turn around to me and go, yeah, I want to go ahead, I want to put that cover in place, really like the way that you've done that, we would then get a percentage commission from the insurer.
It's really interesting you say that, actually, because one of the guys, we were on a Q&A earlier today, and I said to him, look, I've got Trevor on, what do you want to ask him? We've got some questions at the end from our clients, which is really cool. But one of them said, what was our liability for filling out some of the questions that you get in these questionnaires are stupid, and some of them are either complicated or could quite easily be misconstrued as not what they want. And I think, straight off the bat here, we've identified that making sure that you're answering the correct question the correct way in what they want is basically probably one of the most important things. And are you qualified to make that decision? Are you qualified to answer that question? If you answer that question wrong, are you basically going to waste your money and open yourself up to an attack? And I think you're probably going to say yes, aren't you, at this point? Because you've probably seen a few examples of that, haven't you?
Yeah, I had I'll give you an example. I had a media company, or rather what was classed as a media company, paying 400 quid a year for their insurance. And they were doing feedback videos for blue chip companies at the time.
Right.
And it was software. It wasn't about the media, it was about the software. They were selling licenses to large blue chip companies that allowed their customers to give feedback on their products, on a video. And one of the exclusions in the media policy that they'd taken out was anything to do with IT contracts. So they were actually paying, they were only paying 400 quid a year, but they were paying it for nothing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have covered it.
There was an exclusion. There was an exclusion to that, and I think that's the thing with with all legal stuff and insurances. You just got to get the right person, because they always say your insurance on anything. You only ever know how good your insurance is when you make a claim.
Correct.
And we're building up these highly profitable, highly efficient, highly leverageable, MSP businesses. It's bloody hard work. We get that. We understand that here at the Growth Hub. And to the point of the guy on the call originally, who kind of called it out and sort of said, look, let's get some help with this. It's around making sure we don't just throw all that away. So, right, let's get into the nuts and bolts. What is cyber insurance and how does it work, Trevor? People talk about cyber essentials. I've got my 25 grand cover with that. I must be done. I don't need to listen to the rest of the podcast. I'm 10 minutes in. I'm good. I can go and get on with the rest of my day. What's your view on all this?
Right. So cyber insurance essentially is a policy that will provide you with the services and the insurance cover to help mitigate the costs involved in recovering from a cyber incident.
Right.
So essentially, that's what you're buying, right? Now, when I say costs, if you buy, you quite rightly get cyber essentials and you get your £25,000 limit, which is great. It's a great first step.
1 point, yeah.
But and I know that 25 grand doesn't go anywhere nowadays.
No.
And that is the issue. It's the limit. It's nothing to do with the policy. The policy, I understand, is quite good. Service provides good cover and everything like that. It's the limit for me. standard policy will provide some key areas, and these are known as first party and third party covers. So third party is about liability. So whether that's privacy protection, whether that's cyber liability, whether that is media liability, which is thrown in there as well. These are to cover your liability in the event that somebody sues you, right? Yeah. So you've lost their data, they sue you for that. Financial loss, your policy pays out that claim. The rest of the policy is really aimed at the first party, which is you as the insured. So this is about protecting your bottom line, what your losses are involved in that incident. And that will include things like breach cost or incident response, which is all about practical support in the event of a data breach or a cyber incident or a ransomware attack or something like that. It's about how they work with you to get you from day one to the next day and then so on. And it will cover those costs involved, whether that's legal advice, whether that's PR management, whether that's just simply notifying your customers or involving somebody to forensically check how they got in, what they got away with, that kind of thing. It will cover those sort of covers under the incident response / breach costs. Business interruption. Everybody buys a office policy or a combined policy which covers you in the event that you lose your premises. And you have an interruption to your gross profit. Well, business interruption under a cyber policy is exactly the same, but it covers you for a cyber attack, which is an exclusion under your office policy.
Right.
Won't cover cyber. Or if it does, it's a rarity is what I would say. But it's very limited cover. And then I mentioned ransomware, and you've got an extortion cost area. So it'll cover the extortion costs. So if you're held to ransom, it'll not only cover the costs helping you get out of that situation, right? But it will, at the moment, and I stress at the moment, it will pay the ransom. Now, I say at the moment because there is people about who feel that is wrong, that we're funding terrorism or we're funding criminals because we're paying them their ransom.
It's kind of got a point there when you think about it. You could almost. I wouldn't suggest anything like that. Right, let's keep talking.
Yeah, but it is there. And then on top of that, you've got property damage. So this isn't about the outside of your building. This is about your IT systems. So this is about websites, internal systems, software, things like that might be damaged in the event of a cyber incident. And then on top of that, you've got what I like to call additional covers. So you've got that big question, cybercrime, or social engineering as it's known as well. And that's about fraud, whether that's invoice fraud, impersonation fraud, all of those sort of things. My other one that I like to call phone phreaking is telephone hacking. So if you've got a VoIP telephone system, somebody hacks into it, rings out to a premium rate number over the weekend, it runs up a big bill. Biggest bill I've seen is 75 grand, and it was a firm of solicitors who had the old quarterly bills. 75 grand they ran it for. And you're under your BT terms and conditions, you'll be liable for that. Finally, you've got dependent business interruption, which is about the people that you depend on as a business. And if they're cyber attacked, would it have a detrimental effect on your gross profit? So it's about covering that. Some insurers throw it in, but some you have to ask for it as an extension. And then finally, you've got system failure, which is the cost of loss of income or increased cost incurred if an error of an employee or supplier causes an outage on your IT system. And these are all areas that can be included in a cyber policy. And they're the main areas, I would say. Different insurers offer different standard covers. Different insurers offer different limits and sub-limits and things like that, which is why having a keen eye on it is crucial.
So in short then, 25 grand doesn't even buy you a bag of crisps, does it? When you look at
expensive crisps.
when you look at some of the costs that you've got going on, some of the things that you're talking about covering there, probably 25 grand will be all right if you're a one-man band on your own, wouldn't it? Maybe something like that. As an MSP, if we took an MSP, I don't know, what's an average MSP, that we're kind of like around at the moment, it's about 750k, something like that, maybe a bit bigger than that. What would you suggest they would need in terms of cover?
So what I tend to do is having some cover is better than having no cover, is what I would say. Right. So I tend to, when I look at businesses, is I look at their overall turnover, and there's a few calculators that I can use online with some of these insurers, which will give me an idea of what limit they should carry. And I can use those as an indication. But what I tend to say to most customers is, look, let me get you a quote, 500,000, 1 million and 2 million, or 250,000, 500,000 and 1 million, depending on the size of that business, and then that way it's about understanding what the costs are involved. It doesn't take me much longer to get 3 quotes than it does to get one. So it's really what fits your budget, because this is a limit, is about how much can you afford in your eyes, rather than do I have or don't I have any cover at all. It's about trying to control the budget as well. And I realise that. But crucially, I believe a cyber policy, the main area for me is those services area. That breach response, that breach cost area is the biggest and the best part of a cyber policy. Because cyber is definitely something you can't ask John about down the pub on a Friday night. So that's what I think. So if you've got those services, at least you've got support at the time you need it.
And it's around being able to, I guess it's being able to get the business back up and running again after the breach or the incident, whatever we want to call it. I guess flooding it with support to get your clients back up and running, because I suppose the longer that they're out and running, the more you're going to be racking up a bill. The longer you're out and running, out of running the organisation, that your bill's going to be racking up as well, and it's getting that back in play. I must admit, I'm just reflecting on what you just said then about paying for ransomware. That's absolutely bonkers, isn't it? To be quite frank, it really does. Yeah, that's quite a good one.
Actually, I was talking to an insurer yesterday just about ransomware, and they're kind of new boys on the block called Coalition, and their attitude is to try and reclaim anything that you claim for. So they're trying to get the money back out of these people, and they're doing work in order to find and search for where this money goes when there's an incident of fraud, for instance, or something like that.
Good luck with that.
They are making recoveries.
Yeah.
They are making recoveries. So it just shows, and they've got a track history in America for a number of years that they've been operating over there, but they've just launched in the UK. And it was mind-boggling when he was talking to me about it yesterday, about how they were recovering so much money through certain areas, just because of the research that they were doing and the investigation that they were doing afterwards.
Is this like the 2023 version of no win, no fee?
No, I think what they're trying to do, and I think it's a good thing, we all turn around and we all say we buy insurance, but obviously we don't see how it works until we have a claim, right? There is umpteen situations, especially under liability sections, where somebody puts in a claim against us for whatever reason, and then the costs start racking up, don't they? And we sit there twiddling our thumbs, not able to control that cost and having no say on it whatsoever. The good thing in this situation is that insurer is out there trying to reduce your claim by the fact that they're trying to reclaim it from whoever they can, because it wasn't your fault in the first place. So actually, they're trying to help you.
Yeah, there's a whole back office there. And I'm sure all those insurance companies will then go and put that money back in your pocket once they receive it back, won't they? And reduce your premiums next year.
Well, it reduces your claims experience.
Yeah, I suppose, that's a sensible point. What can an MSP do to help reduce their premiums? We were speaking earlier on about what's the minimum that you would accept a new client on. And most of the guys were saying, they need to have a basic level of security. Otherwise, we don't take them on as clients. Some people were saying, not that they weren't bothered, but a few of them are just sort of saying, if they want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. But many of them saying, nope, they're not a good fit for me if they haven't got a good level of cyber security. So, and tools to help them prevent.
I think the first point to put across is, if you're not encouraging your customers to do something for themselves, right? It's about being honest with them, and it's about educating them in the reasons why, isn't it?
Yeah.
The first time an incident happens, that finger is being pointed at you as an MSP, because they see it as an IT issue. Yeah. They don't see it as anything else. you sold me cybersecurity and I've not secured, it's your fault, right? So straight away, they're going to put in a claim against you.
Yeah.
So if you've taken those steps that when you're talking to your client, you've either identified that they do or don't have cyber insurance, and you've said to them, look, I suggest this is a good idea because we can't control everything. We can't control what Jimmy's going to click on in the corner of your office. We can't control a 0-day attack. And these, are unpreventable in some cases because we just don't know what they are yet. That puts them in a position of whether or not they want to or don't want to. The customer then needs to decide, look, do I need to protect myself because you've been honest with me and you've told me you can't give me 100% guarantee that I'm protected, or do I not? Can I afford the loss? That's their decision to make. But I think that's where we've got to get to. And I've got clients, some of which will make it mandatory now that their clients have cyber insurance because they know how vulnerable they potentially are if somebody points the finger at them. And that's where we work with managed service providers to help them educate their clients in that fashion. And we'll identify what you can offer and what we can offer from an insurance perspective. They can make the decision.
Yeah.
They're not paying anything for that service. It's educated decision then, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because, MSPs are a hot target for cybercrime and cyber criminals because they've got access to so many hundreds of thousands of endpoints, I suppose, collectively, millions, if not more than that, kind of in the UK. And, while an MSP will have all these great tools that all of our wonderful vendors have got to help keep them safe and secure, if somebody on your client's reception opens up an email and all of a sudden the bad guys get in, how can you ensure their receptionist for not listening to a briefing or not following a procedure? And then it goes back up the other way, up the pipe the other way and straight into your network, doesn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree. Don't get me wrong, I advocate cyber resilience before anything. And, having recovery plans and resilience plans in place has got to be a first step in this, along with having cybersecurity. If somebody came to me and said, I've got a certain budget and doesn't have any security in place, I'd tell them to spend it on that security first, because the chances of me covering them properly, if they haven't got the basics in place, is going to be a non-event, really.
Yeah. Let me just rewind just a minute, because you said this, you've just mentioned a term, and I want to just make sure that people on this podcast are absolutely clear with this. And our good friend Greg Jones has mentioned this loads of times. What is cyber resilience and what is cyber security?
Right. So in my eyes, cyber resilience is about procedures and plans and programs in place to show you what you would do in the event of something happening or to protect you against events happening. Cyber security is about the tech side of it, in my opinion, and that's about having those measures, whether that's MFA or whether that's backup systems or whatever in place. That's the way I see it. I don't know what you think yourself, Ian. Is that?
No, that's exactly, caveat ahead, not technical, but that's, I think, people talk a lot about cyber. There's a lot of people selling on fear, and as soon as you hear cyber, the word that follows it is normally muffled. Yeah. Cyber security, cyber resilience, cyber attacks, cyber this, we need cyber that, and people go, oh my god, what's this all about? And and you can see, we were at some events at the back end of last year, and the amount of cyber security, data protection, cyber resilience, all of these systems that are out there now, you can tell where people are trying to get into, and it's just a brain fuzz, for most people. And people talk about cyber resilience, they talk about cyber security, but I just wanted to just add it in here. There's a bit that's, and I guess kind of what it is a little bit is like what's happening to you and what you're doing in terms of your business to protect your business. So just wanted to cover that in. So in terms of MSPs, reducing their premiums and protecting themselves, what's kind of your top, before we even talk about the policy themselves, what's the absolute minimums that people should be doing either internally or with their clients that makes your life easier in terms of getting a good deal on the insurance or to help protect them? Because that's what this is about, isn't it?
So there's several different areas. I think first and foremost, it's about training employees. It's about having your own backup programs and procedures in place. Maybe, like I said, a cyber resilience plan in place. And these areas are key to anybody, whether they're an MSP or whether they're a different company. And then it's about demonstrating your cyber maturity by having an accreditation.
Okay.
Whether that's Cyber Essentials, whether that's ISO 27001, there's NIST, and there's so many different ones out there. I think, the more detail people give, the better picture they give to insurers, right? Provided we don't baffle them with science, because, let's be honest, underwriters are underwriters, they're not technology people.
Yeah, they're another breed.
Yeah, they are definitely. They, as long as we can make them understand, then they will see it all as a positive, and they will. And the way insurance works is they have a book rate, and then they have a scope of discounts that they can give off that book rate, depending on tick boxes being ticked. And if you demonstrate all of them, you'll get the best price you can from that particular insurer.
So it's about being responsible, leading towards this, this compliance. I know a lot of people talking about, the future of MSPs being regulated. Well, whether that happens with the size of businesses that we're working with, I don't know. I heard it's mainly for the larger guys, but, procedures, ISO shows maturity. It definitely brings in larger clients for MSPs if you've got accreditations, because it shows that you're a proper business and you're running. I'm not saying that other businesses are not proper businesses, but it's, as you say, it's that demonstrating your attitude, your culture towards that. And, and if you start then providing, some training, some videos and things like that for your clients as well, just to help them understand what, when a phishing email comes in, what does it look like? What is that? I'm sure you're not going to be liable if one comes in, but you've certainly, what's the percentage of attacks that come in through the human error? It's like 90% or something like that, isn't it?
I think the last stat I saw was saying like 82% of SMEs.
That wasn't a bad guess then, was it?
Yeah. I think that is, but don't hold me to it because it keeps changing, doesn't it? It doesn't go down very much.
And that's why you see so much, about the emails, and we don't need to teach people on this podcast how to suck eggs. But brilliant. I think that was really great, Trevor. Really great insights there into everybody. We've got a couple of questions here. The first question we had was about the cyber essentials. Well, I think we've pretty much said that that's going to be okay if you're a micro MSP. When you listen to this podcast and some of the things that you've got cover for and what you're going to need, that's going to evaporate really, really quickly if you're an MSP of any type of half decent scale. One of our guys has said cyber insurance is not now covered by an act of war. We don't think anything's covered by an act of war, is it? So that's come out on whether your house is insured, whether your computer's insured, or whether
they all have war exclusions. It's just under a cyber policy. There's 4 different ones at the moment, depending on the type of attack I've been getting.
Okay. So suck it up. That's life. Last one we talked about was one of our guys mentioned last week that you should only ever, if anything ever happens to you in your environment, you should only ever call it an incident at first and not a breach, because a breach was, his view was that a breach was kind of assuming that something had gone wrong and you'll be liable for it, whereas an incident needs investigation. What's your view on that comment?
I mean, I think.
Can you comment on that? Would that be unethical? I don't know.
I think it's half a dozen one and half a dozen the other. I think it's just terminology, isn't it? The thing is breach was used a lot at the early days because it was all about breaches of data. But as claims have developed, it's been more down the route of fraud and ransomware attacks and things like that, which and less about the data side of it.
Yeah. Okay. That led me on to a question about, if you do have an incident, we'll call it whatever you want to call it, and you've got, you need to be advising people. One of the things was about, do you let the police know? What's the kind of procedure? And I know we probably don't want to get too caught up into this, but, you've got the ICO need to know about it and all that sort of stuff. What's the kind of, if something does happen, what's the best route to, who do you need to tell?
My understanding is action fraud is who you need to report an incident to. and then they'll use that information to help protect others against that incident. Regards from an insurance point of view, first and foremost, and I tell any MSP this, every MSP this, establish if your client's got cyber insurance. Don't touch their computer system until you know, because you could inadvertently void their insurance by acting in their best interests because you jump on there to help them out because they've told you that they've had an incident.
Whoa, that's a. And on that note, we drop the mic. It's been very, 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 very interesting. So look, that's absolutely brilliant. Trevor, thanks again. There's just like value bombs all over this podcast and really essential tips for MSP to take note. Go and do your research, go and learn, go and have a look at your own policies, look at your own procedures and kind of see what's doing just to protect as many of you guys out there as we possibly can. That's the kind of the purpose of this show. Another shameless plug for you, Trevor. Let everybody know if they want to continue the conversation with you, they want to reach out to you. How do they get in contact with you? And just fill your boots.
Yeah, well, you can call me, link in with me, telephone numbers I can share with you, Ian. And
we'll pop it in the show notes. That's fine with your email address.
Yeah, and more than happy to answer any questions. Like I said, it's about education first, and if I can assist with that, then that's great.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thanks again. Thanks for your time. Keep safe. Keep everybody else safe for us, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Cheers, Trevor.
Cheers. Thanks.
So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I'd love it if you could leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. If you want to learn more about how to take your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, go faster, then come and join Stuart Warwick and myself in the Scale with Confidence Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You go and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.